Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Behind the Cup podcast, where curiosity meets the craft of coffee. I'm Leo, and with each episode, we sit down with the people behind the cup, the farmers, the roasters, the baristas, and the builders, and explore the craft, culture, conversation, and technologies that are making coffee one of the most remarkable drinks on the planet. What happens when innovation and technology meet the world of coffee? Our guest today can help us answer that and more. He's an innovation leader, an entrepreneur that has worked across consulting, corporate transformation, and his own ventures, including Carl Ludwig, one of Vienna's top specialty coffee shops. He's also the founder and CEO of Data Dynamics AI, where he builds AI agents and automation tools for small and medium-sized businesses. And somewhere he's going to tell us how. In between all of that, he created the Coffee Shop Launchpad, a coaching program for aspiring cafe owners. Everyone, you are in for a treat today. Juan, welcome to the Behind the Cup podcast.
Thank you very much. Very glad to be here.
It's so good to have you. For folks who don't know you, do you mind just sharing a little bit about who you are and what your journey has been so far?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as my name probably says, I'm Juan Rosenzweig. I'm partly Austrian, partly Mexican. I was born and raised in Mexico, and then because I had also Austrian nationality, I decided to come to Austria to study. And from there, everything started. So I'm an engineer, as you mentioned. I studied also innovation management, and from there on, I dedicated my life to what they call innovation management, and can be everything and nothing. It's about starting new projects, starting new ideas, bringing them to life, and going in this like startup direction. So it's a little bit of mix of everything, also combined with big corporate. So it has been quite exciting.
I love that journey because I know when it comes to starting things, there's a different mindset around courage, around experimentation, around just going for it. And so your career has done all that: innovation, corporate leadership, coffee shop, now AI, and helping small businesses understand that. How do you make sense of that arc and all those connecting points as you look back at your journey?
Well, for me, it's all about this starting and developing new ideas. That's the overarching topic of all of it. And that's all what innovation management is all about. And that's basically where everything connects. But I would also say that when I have been working in consulting or in big corporates, most of the innovation management that you do is basically in three main areas: sustainability, digitalization, and their core business. So it's basically the combination of these three, and the projects that come out from combining these three aspects. And then in the end, I got also a little bit more stuck in this very exciting wave of AI, and this is also why I jumped into data dynamics AI right now.
Fascinating. And where in that particular journey, how did coffee enter into that picture? That's, I think, a love that we both share. And why a cafe of all the things that you could have built given your experience?
I think that's a really great question, and I truly believe there's two kinds of people in this world. One that are people that are born with this little worm inside that is, wanting always to either open a restaurant, a coffee shop, or something in the gastronomy, and the rest that are absolutely not interested in doing something like that. So I always had it in the back of my mind, and I always thought one day in my life I want to have either a coffee shop or a restaurant or do something in this direction. So basically I had that in the back of my mind, and then suddenly the pieces started to fall in place, and it was the right place, the right moment, the right people, and we jumped to it.
Now, why that? Because you could have opened a restaurant, like you said, two types of people. What was it about coffee or the coffee experience that made you go in that direction?
Back then, I was coming back from Germany. I was living in Germany. I came back to Austria. I started also working in corporate for a while. And in this corporate role, I was working mostly in business cases for new ideas, right? So corporates also focus on ventures, on scale-ups, on new investments. So I was doing all of those business cases. And at that time, I moved to a shared apartment. They call them BGs here in Austria, with friends of friends. Just by sheer coincidence, one of them was one of the best baristas of Austria. The second one had already his own business and was also doing quite good. So one day we went out partying, and we basically realized that we were a great team to start a coffee shop. We had the best barista. We were doing already business cases. We had always someone already having his own business. So we basically went for it. And the rest is history. We started putting the pieces together. I started developing the business case, going into the numbers, asking all of the questions, and then suddenly we had a small plan. And this is also what we present a little bit in the course for the Coffee Shop Launchpad, how to put the business case together. So these were also my first steps. And once we had a plan, we say, okay, do we really want to do this or not? And we did.
Now, that's so interesting. So, for folks who are in corporate right now, who are thinking about something like this, where should they actually start? Let's talk about the mindset first of all. If you are in corporate today, what type of mindset should you start to have if you're thinking about opening a coffee shop?
Well, for me, corporate, I always knew it that it was kind of a place to gather strength, gather a little bit of savings, learnings, and do a little bit of time understanding business because I was also coming from the engineering side and went then from corporate opening a coffee shop. It was basically these preparation steps, right? So what do you need to learn? What do you need to put together? Also putting one of the decisions back at the day was putting all of the savings that I had gathered in corporate into this small coffee shop, right? It's having the passion. It's like cooking brew a little bit, that it starts forming and you think about it and you give the time and the effort and then start doing the first steps. But one of the main things that I do recommend is that really do start, because many people go to corporate with this mindset and they forget it because it gets too comfortable. But do the first steps, start it, see if you like it, if that's the dream still alive, and if it is, then just basically go for it.
I love that summary. It's so simple. One, start with learning and then begin to prepare and then don't stop there. Go for it. Whatever way you can, go for it. Why don't you walk us through your experience? You started a coffee shop with some very close friends. What made your coffee shop different? What were you trying to create? Because there are coffee shops everywhere. What was it about yours that you said, we're going to do something different? Walk us through that.
Basically, when we were planning it, we had absolutely no concept at all. We were basically very, very flexible on the concept depending on the location that we would find. We found a couple of really good locations that were in very touristic places. So we were about to going in a touristic concept, so to say. And then suddenly we found the location that we ended up going into, right? And that basically settled the whole concept. So for me, it would be about not marrying the concept at first, but developing also the concept together with the location that you manage to get, that it can be a game changer, right? And I think for us, what was really, really impactful were a couple of things. First of them, the location that we got was really a wow factor. It was an amazing place, but it also had its challenges. It was quite hidden. So you really needed almost to drag people in so that they would come in. And I say that it's such an amazing location because it's placed in a very old palace, right, that you don't see from the outside. So you just walk in. It's a very small door in the street. Walk in, walk straight through, and then you have a really beautiful garden with a fountain looking at the palace. So it's a little bit like a hidden gem, right? So that was one of the big factors, but people didn't know about it. One of the other things that I also think had a really great impact was the product, that we focused on bringing coffee directly from the finca. So selecting the coffee, roasting together with a roaster. So doing the whole process as a whole from the beginning to the end. And the last one was also the people, where we were always focusing on getting really, really great baristas. And by great, I mean people that were great with people. We were focusing much more not in the guys that had fully the skills but were really bad with people, but we would really sometimes prefer to have people that were a little bit untrained or didn't know about gastronomy, but that they were making customers happy and that they get you this feeling of wanting to come back. And that also we can thank to one of these guys that I mentioned a little bit earlier, one of the top baristas here in Austria, that was also really great with people. So it was a guy that could make you laugh, that would remember a lot of of his customers, and that had a really sweet spot on selecting really great people as baristas.
You talked about location, process, people, and of course the skill set of a barista. There are coffee shops today that are actually struggling with these things. You have a location, but people don't know about it. And so when you guys started, you had all these challenges. How did you start to deal with those?
It's quite difficult because also for the two other guys, so besides this really good barista, were two others in the team that had absolutely nothing to do with the restaurant world, right? So it was just about digging in and asking all of the questions. I think we also had a lot of support. There's one guy called Otto from Balthasar, a really, really great coffee shop in Vienna. And he was also incredibly supportive. So his help was also very key to taking the right steps, right? And it's about jumping into the network and start asking questions, be very, very open-minded, reaching out to everyone, trying to exchange information, and basically digging into the network of coffee within your region, right? That will really, really help a lot. I truly believe that opening a coffee shop is not something that you can do basically by yourself, right? You really need to get connected, to speak with people, to have exchanges, and to get to best practices.
If there's one thing I'm learning as I continue to this coffee journey, it is the power of community and
Yeah.
bringing all these people together, whether you are on the farming, roasting, retail, marketing, branding side. When you bring all those together in a great story, there's something about that you create that is special and outside the mainstream, because every coffee shop is different. And I think if there's one thing we try and do is we don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be
Mhm.
able to create an experience. But your background is interesting too, because you have a technology background. You're also working in innovation and AI. And so this outsider lens that you have, you're really bringing multiple disciplines together. How did that affect how you built the coffee shop? And
Mhm.
how should coffee shop owners think about innovation today?
Well, it did help a lot because what you do in innovation many times is doing these business cases for complete random idea. So you have absolutely no clue about it. So the start was very, very similar. How do you put the numbers together of something that you don't really understand that much? So it's about sitting, asking the questions, and getting into a method that reflects reality and also reflects the reality that you want to create. That's also the difference. One of the very interesting things about the business case that we created is that it is basically a reflection of other coffee shops within your city. What you start doing is creating what you call the 100% day. And based on that day, then you break down the 100% day of the week, the 100% day of the month. And with that, then you can break down how much in relation to that day are the rest of the days of the year. So with very, very little information, you manage to get a whole-blown business case in very little time. But for me, of course, doing that for the first time it took me about 2 to 3 months of work to put all of the pieces together, see how we could make a very good and nice business case that was also flexible enough for adapting it when we had more information. So yeah, it was a continuous development, so to say.
Interesting. And so when that 100%, is that 100% revenue,
Mhm.
100% customer experience? When you
Mhm.
say 100% day, what does
Mhm.
that mean?
It's 100% revenue. Normally, you start creating this business case with a comparison of a revenue to a shop that you would be able to compare yourself to. And many baristas that are already working in this field normally do have these numbers in their head. Why? Because they're also the responsibles of closing the casa every night when the coffee shop closes. Right? So they know how much revenue a coffee shop does in the end of the day. And they know more or less what are the ranges of a very successful day or the ranges of a not that very successful day. And if you have worked in multiple coffee shops, then you have a very good idea where those ranges are.
Interesting. And you talked about the location and how other coffee shops in your city affect the business that you create. Now, Vienna is beautiful and has one of the oldest cafe cultures in the world. So that must
Mhm.
have not been easy to be able to say, we're going to start a coffee shop in a city that really appreciates good coffee. What was that tension like, and how did you guys think about that?
Well, it's very interesting that you say it because I'm not sure that Vienna back then had realized or was completely in this specialty coffee wave already. I think they
Mm.
have very traditional coffee shops that are, from long ago. They were the first country in Europe to introduce coffee, but the coffee culture was not that great. It was a little bit of a mix from this Italian wave, but I would say that the quality of coffee was not really great. One of the main guys that I would say, to my perspective, really started making a huge difference was this guy that I mentioned from Baltasar a little bit, a couple of questions ago, Otto. And this guy basically brought the idea of specialty coffee to Austria. And he started pushing and changing the barriers and changing the expectations and the knowledge and what people believed was coffee for Austrians. And he brought it to the next level. And from there on, I would say there's many coffee shops that took a look at him and said, wow, there's a completely new world coming and we want to participate in that. And that was basically also what happened to us. So we jumped on that train. We also were fortunate enough to be very close to him and get his support. I would say that that struggle was to him to really change the complete mindset. And we were just basically followers, so to say.
That's really interesting. And hopefully we'll be able to get him on the podcast too, and be able to get his story. Because I think
Absolutely. We can reach out to him and ask him.
changing mindsets is hard. Changing culture, changing mindsets. And so to bring an entirely different culture to a city, uh, is absolutely fantastic. Looking back, what are the top three things that you would have done differently?
One of the things that we heard a lot when we were starting, and I have taken a lot of learnings from this, was doing it with friends and family. We were three really good friends that started it. In the end, it didn't work out that well, and this is why we sold. Two of the partners sold our parts, but there were incredibly a lot of learnings from there. So if you're opening with a friend or family, think it twice. If you go in this direction, you have to make crystal clear definitions of what are the responsibilities, how does it work, what are the expectations. Coming from the business and corporate side, we tried to go in this direction, and we did team workshops of explaining our expectations. We had very clear contracts. But one of the main things that also you take is that once you're in this path, it's also very emotional, and how things change within this path, and the responsibilities and the flexibility of the whole project has also to be there. So it's not a very easy topic, but yeah, that would be, I would say, my biggest learning.
So there's the hard side, the craft of coffee, the roasting, packaging, selling, but then there's also the soft side, your team. Train them, how you work with them. Opening a coffee shop is hard. And so when you have those personal or people challenges, that I think compounds.
Absolutely. And I think this is one of the things that most people romanticize. You romanticize that moment of being in the coffee shop and working there. And once you're there, the situation is completely different. So you also have to have the passion for it. It's also nice. It's beautiful. It's a really cool process. I must also say that I was mostly focusing on the bookkeeping part of it, on the number side of the business, right? I was here and there some weekend there, and this barista was taking the operational part. But yeah, it's an amazing process, a lot of learnings, but I also try to tell people not to absolutely romanticize it, because it's also a tough business, as you say. You have to wake up every morning, you have to be there every day, you have to check the costs, you have to. It's a brick and mortar business. It's a challenge.
I love the focus on learning, and we're going to get to that because I want to learn a little bit more about the Cup Launchpad. But a couple more questions around technology and AI. Where do you see this new world of AI affecting the coffee industry, whether that's coffee retail or all the way earlier in the value chain? How do you think about AI now in the world of coffee, which is very traditional to a certain extent?
Well, one of the first things that I would say is that I don't believe that AI or robotics will substitute the coffee world as it is, right? I truly believe it's a people business. I go to a coffee shop to feel nice, to get to get this contact with people, to feel relaxed. And I believe if there would be machines behind the bar, it would not be the same. Having said that, I also think that there's so much from the technology that can really help us. And this is basically how data dynamics started. I basically sold my part of the coffee shop, and I realized how much potential there was in the data of the coffee shop and how much you could automatize, right? So we started developing our first minimal viable products. We developed a mini AI agent to which you send a voice message, and he writes your emails of what orders you need to make to the right supplier, to the right with the right message, and to the right contact person. So we also start using machine learning models to analyze the data of the coffee shop. So we really saw the potential. I thought, okay, this is a really great place to start. I have knowledge in the gastronomy. I can put these pieces together, and the potential is there. So I think we can make our lives much, much easier. What I always say when I meet a customer that they're a little bit afraid of AI, I told them, use these tools so that you can really focus on what is important. For me, what is that is basically your contact with the customers. With these tools, you can maximize your contact with them, be with them. You can maximize spending time with what is important. So that would be the main message that I have there.
I really agree with you. I think that there's resistance when it comes to AI now because it's been messaged in a very wrong way. There's a lot of opportunity for businesses at every stage to take advantage of this. And I agree with you that coffee will always be a people and a connection and an experience type of business. What's behind the scenes and how we can leverage those efficiencies and speed to market will become a very interesting differentiator. And the customer should know the difference. I think what they should experience is better service. They should experience a better connection with the baristas and higher quality coffee and all of these types of things that I think we all enjoy. And, for many of us, pulled us in to the experience of coffee. And so, speaking of learning, you have started something with all the learnings that you've had. You've had an award winning coffee shop, you've had great networks with a ton of people. Why don't you talk to us about the Coffee Shop Launchpad that you've built, how you're serving people by teaching them the lessons you've learned?
Well, this project was a little bit of a side project that came to life because during last year, the year after I sold my coffee shop, many people came to me, around 5, 6, 7 people came to me, and they were like, "Hey, Juan, you have gone through this process. Can you help me open my own coffee shop?" I'm like, "Wow, yes, this is amazing. I really love the concept because, I was behind that process, and I was really looking how I could use this knowledge to support others." So it got triggered a little bit like that. And with that, then I started investigating what kind of tools you could use, how it could be set up, and I found the school platform that it's super useful and incredibly interesting. And I basically created a course of 30 different units and around 8 different sections to test if there would be some interest around the people, right? So I created this quick course, created the structure, made all of the content, and more or less packaged it in a kind of course community, just to test if it would work. Very, very interestingly, it started kicking off very quickly. I put it online, I started promoting it a little bit, and in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, we gathered, I think we have around now 350 participants in our community from all over the world. So yeah, the main idea of the course is to teach people from zero to after opening a coffee shop, how you can do it with a support of a continuous community, with courses, with exchange, with calls. So creating this environment where people can feel safe on basically developing their dream and helping them step by step, and saving them also a lot of time that has been used on developing all of these tools. Right? So the very first and core part of the whole course is, as we mentioned, the business case. We give the business case for free to everyone that is starting to participate in our course. They join. There's a free course specifically for that, where we give the business case, we give the templates for the business case, we explain how to fill it, and we give all of the list of all of the possible costs that you can have, so that people can take a little bit of time and do it by themselves. And the rest of the course, the paid part, we take them through the whole journey on how to go from that business case to the rest until you're optimizing already your coffee shop. And I'm also planning of giving some free AI tools by the end of the course that people can leverage to, as we said, optimize the time with their customers. So yeah, that was where the idea come from, and it has taken some interest from the people. So it's growing quite quickly.
I love that approach because this isn't something you read. This is something you lived. You've your own coffee shop. It's won multiple awards, and now you're helping people do the same. And I think what Otto did for you, you are doing for other people around the world. So that's very special. We will definitely leave links to the Coffee Shop Launchpad in the resources today. And so, real quick on that program, what does success look like? So somebody joins this course. They you get these free templates, and at some point there's a paid experience as well. What does success look like for the Coffee Shop Launchpad program?
For me, success would be people within the community having and opening their own coffee shop, but not only that, that it's also a successful project, right? That it's something that is profitable, that it makes business sense, and that it's not only a burden, something that it's difficult to manage, but that it's enjoyable because in the end it is a really nice business. So I plan, and hopefully we get to that point, that we will also get a wall of fame, hopefully, from the Coffee Shop Launchpad, where we will put all of the coffee shops that have been supported with this course. We already have one quite good example of one of these 7 people that asked me on the first year how could they improve their coffee shop. This guy already bought a running coffee shop. Jonathan, quite cool guy here in Vienna. I think it has been 20 years open, a coffee shop. Café is called, also really, really nice. And he has managed to save the first 4,000 euros a year through the course. And that's already an impact. He will be the first one, hopefully, coming in this wall of fame. But for me, this success is that people live out there or actually stay in the community, also telling their experience and how they manage to go from an idea to implementing, and that the business is running.
I love that so much. I think that success is so relative in the sense that from idea to opening your shop, is
Hmm.
its own milestone. And then
Yes.
from your shop to getting to profitability and then all the profitability milestones, that's really, really, really exciting. And last couple of questions. If you could have coffee with anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be and why?
That's a quite interesting question. Must it be someone from the coffee world or?
Oh, no, not at all. I think one of the interesting things I love about coffee is that it's so universal. So everybody either loves coffee or knows someone who does. And I think that that is such a special thing, completely open, past or present.
Okay, from the present, I would say there's this guy that is called Tritan Alcela. He's one of the biggest influencers in the coffee world. I think he's one of the biggest or the biggest, at least in Europe. And his concept I like quite a lot. And I would love to have a coffee with him, also to pitch him a couple of ideas that I have in the coffee world. That would be one of the persons that I would really love to get in touch with. Present him what the possibilities would be also with creating this knowledge and sharing it with the world. He has, I think, one roastery in Düsseldorf and a couple of coffee shops also there. But how he approaches this social media topic with a lot of sincerity and pushing, for having really great quality beans. He's a little bit of it against the matcha movement. So I think he's very authentic, and this is what really is pulling a lot of people. So from the coffee world, I will definitely go from to this guy Drita. And from the not coffee world, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. I know probably someone like Steve Jobs. Just drinking a coffee with Steve Jobs, or even better, drinking a coffee with the guy who invented the internet. That for me is one of the biggest inventions that there is. Right? That would
Very
be it.
interesting guys. So one in the coffee world and the other two innovators. I love that. I may just weave that into kind of like the overall narrative here. So this has been a fantastic conversation, Juan. Thank you for the time. Where can people find you and learn more about you?
Absolutely. They can find me in the school platform, the Coffee Shop Launchpad, as you mentioned. They can find me also in LinkedIn. They can find me in Instagram. So I'm really glad to hear or that someone joins the community and support them in their journey.
Thank you. And we will definitely get those links out as we kind of publish this. Folks, thank you. That is a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for spending your very valuable time with us today. Juan, thank you again for being so open with your story. If something from today stuck with you, a moment, an idea, or a name that you haven't heard before, please share this episode with others and to others that would appreciate it. That's how these great stories travel. And that's how, this coffee world that we all love continues to grow. If you aren't subscribed, please do that now. We'll be back regularly with people, farmers, roasters, cafe owners, builders, the ones that are doing the quiet, remarkable work that makes great coffee possible. And please leave a comment or review. Tell us what you want to hear, and we'll make sure that we incorporate that. I'm Leo. Thank you all for being here. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Thank you very much, Leo.